scenarios: conventional, moderate, and optimistic. Optimistic means that penetration of biofuel will be the most aggressive and the most successful in the best economic feasibility condition. And we see that from up to 2040, for the biodiesel, Indonesia might be needed around 24 million kiloliter to 26 million kiloliter in the last 4 years. So 2037 to 2040. That means, around 100 to 185 million kiloliter of biodiesel. That means 25 million kiloliter to 43 million kiloliter per year by 2040. And this means that the increase of the blending rate will be continue from 30% up to 40 or 50%. And then we can expect also penetration of the advanced green diesel, which is the based on the hydrotreated vegetal oil in the orange bar that can be blended in high rate. And on the right side, it is the gasoline that is blended with bioethanol. And we know that bioethanol in Indonesia is experiencing a problem in securing supplies from molasses, and also the price of molasses, which is quite high. And for bioethanol, for example, we can only expect that with these mandatory pathways, we will only reach around very small, like 6 or 6.5 million kiloliter per year at the end of the 2040. So very, very small share. How about if we launch a new type of biofuel, for example, green diesel or green gasoline based on the hydrotreated vegetal oil that can be blended in high rate in the conventional transport fuel. Then we can see a different situation. In this study, I put forward an assumption of having a green diesel. So we have in the dark green in the left chart. Dark green is the biodiesel, which is our mandatory FAME mixed with the diesel. In the middle dark green is new biofuel. That is the cheapest one. So new biofuel means green diesel, cheap green diesel, that the price will be similar to the diesel price by 2030. And then the light green is the new green diesel that is expensive one, that the price will be similar to diesel by 2040. And we can see, we can assume that if this kind of green diesel will be sold as an option, not mandatory, but an optional, like if you are going to pumping station, you will see this D100, and you can fill your car or your motorbike, your car, then we can expect that with the price development as well, that the consumption of this new green diesel will be much higher than if we stay at the mandatory level. In this case, by 2040, for example, the mandatory biofuel, such as we have now, will only reach 21 million kiloliter, while for the expensive new green diesel, for example, it will reach around 40 million kiloliter, while for the cheap green diesel, we will reach almost 70 million kiloliter. But as the consequences, we need to reduce our CPO, crude palm oil export, and to meet this high demand. So we need to trade off between having revenue from exporting CPO or having revenue from scrapping the subsidy that we have in Indonesia for subsidizing biodiesel. I think we go directly to this trade. So ASEAN, the situation in trade, ASEAN is in fact biodiesel exporter. As we can see in the left chart, that biodiesel trade from ASEAN countries to ASEAN and the rest of the world is increasing. So the blue bars are the export. The gray bars, the small one, are the import. And we see that the export from ASEAN to ASEAN as well and to the rest of the world is increasing from 300,000 kiloliter to more than 700,000 kiloliter by 2021. And the import vanished by 2016, and we see that a very positive trade balance for biodiesel. And for bioethanol, we see that ASEAN is also exporter but also importer. And we see that the import is decreasing and the trade balance is getting better. And for bioethanol, we know that Thailand is the main exporter. In the left side, you see the green bars are Thailand. And in fact, Vietnam also is importer, and Indonesia is in fact also exporter of bioethanol, despite our inability to have a bioethanol program in the country. And then the bioethanol import, the main country is Philippines, but it is decreasing. And this is biodiesel. Indonesia and Malaysia are the biggest exporter. And we see that biodiesel import by Thailand vanished by 2016. And this is the study that area did in 2014, and it is very interesting. This is bioethanol and biodiesel, and for the ASEAN plus 6 countries. And we see that in the left side, the study mentioned that without unified or integrated trade, the potential of bioethanol will be staying at not more than 10,000 kilotoe by 2035. But with the opening the market, it will go up to more than 20,000, or 30,000. While at the right side, without a trade market in ASEAN, it will be around, for the biodiesel, it will be around 15. But with the unified market, integrated market, it will go up to nearly more or 35,000 kilotoe. So this is the thing that I would like to conclude here, that without the market, ASEAN potential market and supply will be limited. But with the market, it will be open up, and more demand and more supply will be appearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Joko. May I invite you to stay on stage for a photo session? Okay. We are going to have a photo session. May I invite all panelists, presenters, moderators from event 2 to come up stage for the photo session. May I invite Miss Monica Merdekawati, Dr. Loh Soh Kiang, Miss Alice Heviati, Dr. Shanet Sikom, Mr. Shigeru Kimura, Miss Queenie Rojo, Mr. Yoshinobu Kusano, Mr. Dodi Setiawan, Mr. Caleb Worth, Mr. Troy Dili Susandi, and Mr. Toru Furuichi to come up stage for the photo session. Okay, please smile to the camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. Again, please give your smile to the camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you. Is it enough? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are starting the panel session for event 2. But first of all, I would like to again welcome all the online participants who are joining us from all around the world. A warm welcome from Jakarta. I would also extend a warm welcome to all of you who has just came for the second event of the day. A little recap on the first event. We have a really productive event. We are discussing electric vehicle conversion. We have learned a lot from our distinguished speakers today in this morning session. And may I also inform you that a little housekeeping notes from me, that this room is equipped with Wi-Fi connection. You can connect your phone and your device to the Wi-Fi in this room. Also, if you want to access all the presentation materials, all the agenda of today, you can scan the barcode that is provided on your table. If you scan that barcode, it will link you to the agenda, to the concept note, to the presentation materials from today's event. Also, in the barcode, we also have area-related publication on biomass and electric vehicles. So please feel free to scan, please feel free to download area publication from the link. Also, for those of you who has just came for the second event, we have an expo over there behind of this room. This special expo is prepared by the MEMR. The first booth is from the Directorate of Bioenergy. It displays a lot of bioenergy products such as B35, B40. You can come to the booth and you can ask several questions about these bioenergy products. Also, we have another booth from the Survey and Testing Center of the Directorate General of New Renewable Energy and Conservation MEMR, where you can see the conversion kit components and from the converted motorcycles. Okay, I think we are ready to continue to panel session 1 of the second event. Please allow me to invite to the stage Ms. Monica Merdekawati, the research analyst from ASEAN Center for Energy. Please give her a round of applause.
Hello again, pleasure to be here, and I'm honored to host the all ladies panel discussion for the afternoon session. And first of all, I would like to invite our honorable panelists, Ms. Alice Hefiati, to the stage, and also Dr. Loh Soh Keng, and also Dr. Chanet Sikom to the stage. So we can start our panel discussion. Yeah. Thank you. So on this session, we will discuss about bioenergy development status, potential, possible regional shortage, and future bioenergy supply and demand in ASEAN countries. So we have around 50 minutes here, and I would like to begin by inviting each our panel here for a short 5 until 7 minutes, Ken Mila to 10 minutes of presentation. And later we will follow with the Q&A session for around 20 minutes. And also we will welcome the question from the audience here for the Q&A session later. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Alice Hefiati. She is the coordinator of Business Service and Supervision of Bioenergy, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia. Ms. Alice is currently appointed as the coordinator and previously acted as Deputy Director for Bioenergy Investment and Cooperation for 3 years. Without further ado, Ms. Alice, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. To the Honorable Chief Operating Officer of Economic Research and Institute for ASEAN and East Asia or area, the Executive Director of ASEAN Center for Energy ACE, representative from ASEAN member countries, and distinguished speaker, moderator, participant, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, here I would like to thank Area and ACE for organizing and inviting me to this event. It is a great honor and privilege for me to participate in this event. And without further ado, please allow me to present a brief overview of bioenergy policy and implementation in Indonesia.
Could we have the slides up, please? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, from this slide, I would like to show you the important role of bioenergy in achieving our new and renewable energy target. Based on our national energy policy, it is targeted that new and renewable energy should contribute about 23% from total energy mix by 2025. And as we can see, from the last year realization, the new and renewable energy share is reach about 12.3%, where the bioenergy share is about 7.5% or more than 60% of total renewable energy share. Okay, and despite the huge potential, the bioenergy implementation has not in accordance to the potential. So, in an effort to increase the bioenergy implementation, in 2021, government with related stakeholder conducted a series of activities to updating our bioenergy data potential. And based on that survey, our existing bioenergy potential is equal to 57 gigawatt of energy, and with additional of 72 gigawatt potential for development. And as the largest producing and exporting country of palm oil product, Indonesia's greatest bioenergy potential comes from palm oil and palm oil waste. Other potential consists of corn, wood, paddy, and rubber waste, and also municipal city waste. Given the large potential of bioenergy resources and also the important role of bioenergy, MEMR encourage the development of bioenergy through 4 main programs. The first one is to increase the install capacity of bioenergy power plant. Government strategy to increase install capacity of bioenergy power plant consists of to promote the business and investment climate, to implement waste to energy acceleration project, and also to optimize excess power mechanism. The second program is biomass co-firing. Biomass co-firing become a major project that is currently being promoted by government and PT PLN to increase the renewable energy share and also to reduce greenhouse gas emission. There are about 52 locations of coal-fired power plant with total capacity of more than 18 gigawatt that will be co-fired with various biomass feedstock, which include waste-based RDF. And up to now, PLN has conducted biomass co-firing in 42 locations in Indonesia. And from biomass co-firing roadmap until 2025, the co-firing program will need about more than 8 tons of wood biomass, and also about 1 million tons of waste-based RDF. The third program is biofuel implementation. In order to implement the biofuel program, the government has set biofuel blending which cover biodiesel, bioethanol, and bioaftur. The biodiesel implementation has been running successfully more than 17 years and has made Indonesia as the pioneer in the biodiesel utilization. And starting this February this year, we have implemented B35 nationwide. And we are not stopping here. We already conducted B40 road test, so maybe in the near future, we will increase the blending rate to 40%. The success of Indonesian biodiesel program is supported by sufficient of feedstock, incentive mechanism, high quality standard, a comprehensive test prior the implementation, periodic monitoring and evaluation, and a massive socialization to ensure stakeholder acceptance. But in contrast to biodiesel blending mandate, the planned bioethanol mandate has yet to be implemented due to several reasons. And now, with the aim to restarting the biodiesel mandate, since July this year, we've conducted a market trial of E5 blending in Surabaya and Jakarta area. And in line with demand for high quality environmentally friendly fuel, Indonesia through PT Kilang Pertamina International is developing hydrotreated vegetable oil, which consists of green diesel, green gasoline, and bioaftur. And related to bioaftur, Indonesia has successfully conducted test flight with 2.4% of bioaftur blending using flying testbed aircraft in October 2021. And this October, we will continue by conducting flight tests using commercial aircraft. And in fact, today we are conducting the ground run test in Soekarno-Hatta Airport. Apart from that, to support the sustainable aviation fuel, government with related stakeholder preparing a roadmap for commercial flight and encourage bioaftur production in industrial scale. And the last program is biogas. And up to now, the use of biogas is mainly for own use and domestic as well as communal biogas. Despite that, we also encourage the compressed biomethane gas development. The first CBG plant is commissioned in 2020 in East Kalimantan. And last September, we witnessed the groundbreaking of the first commercial CBG plant in North Sumatra. And we hope that in the near future, more CBG commercial plant will be developed in Sumatra and Kalimantan region. I think that's all from me because it's limited to 7 minutes. I believe it's more than 7 minutes already. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Alice. I can give you more minutes actually, but yeah, thank you for keeping the time. It's really nice to hear Indonesia's great development. I know that bioenergy market and development in Indonesia is highly driven by the government, and I see Indonesia government really pushing the boundaries, working on the biofuel utilization and also the increase of the bioenergy in the power generation, also really encouraging news. Thank you. And without further ado, I would like to invite our second panel here, Dr. Loh Soh Kiang, Head of Energy and Environment Unit of the Malaysian Palm Oil Board. Dr. Loh is has the expertise in the biomass, bioenergy, and biorefinery. She actively involves in the ISO or Malaysian standards drafting, climate change negotiation and national greenhouse gas inventory establishment, also provides advisory services to the industry and oversees national biogas implementation. Dr. Loh, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the kind introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me here to present to you the bioenergy development status and latest policy measure in Malaysia. So let me introduce myself. So I'm from the Malaysian Palm Oil Board. So the board actually is the custodian of the Malaysian palm oil industry. So we oversee the R&D plus also the industrial matters and also enforcement and licensing related to the palm oil businesses. Moving on, this is just an overview of the Malaysian biomass potential, covering the biomass sectors and also the non-biomass sectors. So when we refer to biomass, so basically you are talking about bioenergy from palm biomass, wood, municipal solid waste and rice, forest residue, energy crops, etc. And the non-biomass energies are basically the hydro, solar, thermal, PV, and also wind and geothermal. Yeah? So you can see from this slide that the abundance of biomass in Malaysia is actually from the oil palm industry in the form of anti-food bunch, palm kernel shell, mesocarp fiber, oil palm trunk, oil palm fronds, and also the wastewater palm oil meal effluent. Yeah? Okay, so basically in Malaysia, we adopt the resource diversification strategy where the 4F and 1C apply. 4F means food, feed, fiber, fuel, and chemical. So biomass in whatever form need to be actually efficiently valorized for this 4F and 1C. So from the slides also you can see that actually the oil palm biomass availability in Malaysia in a year is about 80 million ton dry basis, yeah, and on top of that, the cooked palm oil production is 18.45 million ton, and also there are also other byproducts from the refinery and also oleochemical industries, which amount to about 4.5 million tons. So basically, just now the speaker from Arena also mentioned, need to look into the competitive use of this biomass. So you can see from here that besides renewable energy, it can be used as food, biofertilizer, biocomposite materials, polymers, biochemicals, and also animal feed. In fact, Malaysia, we has also embarked on a sustainable aviation fuel using the waste materials, for example, used cooking oil, palm fatty acid distillate, spent bitumen earth oil, slash palm oil, and also the palm oil meal effluent residual oils. Yeah. So in overall, the Malaysian primary energy supply is as per shown in this slide in 2018, and it moved to a higher share in 2020, where natural gas occupy about 43%, crude oil and petroleum products 27%, coal 26%, and renewables is only about 4%. But Malaysia has actually set a very ambitious target towards 2050, whereby natural gas will be more, 56%, and renewables will be up to 23%. So as of 2020, the renewable energy installed capacity in Malaysia was about 8,450 megawatt. And you can see from here, biomass, biogas, which comprise of bioenergy development in Malaysia, amount to about 600 megawatt. So the installed capacity renewable energy share is about 23%. And basically, the dominant capacity mix is still gas and coal. Yeah? Okay, but here again, under the Malaysian renewable energy roadmaps, we actually foresee that there is a huge technical potential or so-called theoretical potential of this biomass, amounting to about 3.6 gigawatt, comprises of biomass, biogas, and also municipal solid waste. No doubt, the oil palm industry produces the oil palm biomass, which actually occupied the most in its contribution to biomass and biogas. As you can see here, about 2,000 megawatt from biomass for thermal LNG, and also 550 megawatt from POME, basically for biogas, which can be combusted later, either coal combustion or for electricity generation. So these are the potential deployable potential by 2050 under the National Energy Transition Roadmap that has been launched recently in just 2 months ago in Malaysia. So basically, I would like to actually embark on bioenergy share of about 500 to 600 megawatt by 2035 to 2040 and 1,400 megawatt by 2050. Okay, and based on current situation, the commercial deployment in Malaysia, basically we have about oil pump, 7 oil pump biomass co-generation plant, which actually 6 of them actually co-generate the energy and connected to the grid, about 64.5 megawatt. And then there's 1 bioethanol demonstration plant. So all this biomass can be made into bioenergy in the form of not just the conventional energy to replace coal or the crude oil, but also like a more advanced second generation biofuel. For example, ethanol, briquettes, pellets, bio oil, even the bio-compressed natural gas, which actually can be upgraded from the biogas from the palm oil mill effluent. So we have 1 bioethanol demo plant, 11 briquettes pellets plant, 2 demo plants on gasification of bio oil, and also the biogas from the palm oil mill effluent is actually the most lowest hanging in Malaysia, amounting to about 140 plants in Malaysia. So in total, about 30% national biogas implementation. We have about 451 palm oil mills in Malaysia. So if all the palm oil mills actually capture the biogas, then the potential will be very huge. Yeah. Of course, I didn't mention here the biodiesel implementation in Malaysia. Currently, Malaysia is on B10 mandated blends of biodiesels for transportation sector, and industrial sector is B7. And we have also embarked on B20, but it's just implemented in a few areas in Malaysia. So yeah, and then we have 2 bio-compressed natural gas plants as well. So for that, yeah, this is policy response. So we have set a lot of policies from quite a number of years ago, and these are all detailed here, which I would not like to deliberate more. But in the making, we have also like hydrogen economy and technology roadmap, national determined contribution roadmap, and all these are actually geared toward mitigating greenhouse gas emissions in Malaysia. So we also have some financial support capability in Malaysia. For example, under the there's this green growth, renewable energy and environmental management fiscal incentive, plus also green tech financing scheme, feed-in tariff as well, and also the revised feed-in tariff under the National Renewable Energy Policy. Of course, we have a lot of other private initiatives, for example, like venture capital financing, BioNexus, etc. Yeah. So issue and challenges, I think probably if you allow me, Madam, do I still have time? Yeah, so issue and challenges faced in bioenergy implementation. The first one is accessibility to biomass feedstock. Although oil palm biomass has got a huge potential and is in abundance, but logistic-wise will be quite problematic because a lot of palm oil mills and even the palm oil plantation, they are very far from the place where the energy is being used. So logistic will be an issue. Transportation costs will also be very expensive because basically oil palm biomass consists a lot of water. So basically the cost is just to transport like a lot of waters, you see. So and then the quality also, you need to actually use the biomass very fast because it will be degraded, it will be molded, the mold will grow and the biomass will be deteriorated if you are not using it in time. And the pricing as well, you know, to secure the biomass long-term supply, pricing is very uncertain. The industry know about this, so they would like to sometimes wait and see, you know, they don't want to commit to a long-term supply contract with the developers. Okay. Financial support in terms of bankability and accessibility of financing is also issue. And then domestic and international market support acceptance, for example, oil palm has always been facing issue on sustainability. So to get the biomass products to be accepted worldwide is, I think you also face the same sustainability issue, yeah. And commercialization hurdles as well. We have developed quite a number of local technologies, but as I mentioned to my colleague just now, during the table discussion, our local people's perception is that outside there, the overseas or the foreign technologies will be better compared to the locally developed technology. So this is all about the mindset. So how we need to actually inculcate this kind of mindset also is a challenge to us, yeah. And of course, sustainability requirement and certificates issue, just like the palm oil commodity tracks. So the biomass product also you face a similar issue, yeah, in terms of certification and traceability, yeah. So all these are actually, at this point in time, is business oriented and is based on global requirements, supply demand requirement, and the existing regulations. So be it for local or overseas market, so it's a B2B arrangement. So with that, I think basically I would like to end my presentation, but just a bit of promotion, yeah. So MPOB, we are going to organize this very huge Palm Oil International Congress in Malaysia at our Kuala Lumpur Convention Center on 7 to 9 November. So I welcome everyone to participate in that. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Loh, for the interesting sharing on Malaysia's bioenergy policies, latest update, many things we can learn from as well as we can learn from Indonesia. And especially I like your explanation on the 5 hurdles on the accessibility, financial issue, acceptance, the price, which maybe we should talk more in the Q&A session, and also sustainability. And without further ado, I would like to invite our third panel, Dr. Janet Sikom. She is a professional scientist in the Division of Energy Research under the Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, or DEDE, of Ministry of Energy of Thai government. Dr. Janet has strong experiences on new sustainable feedstock and technologies suitable for the biodiesel and advanced biofuel productions. And she had previously worked in the Biofuel Development Bureau for several years. And her current responsibility encompasses promoting waste to energy technology, targeted at municipal solid waste, industrial waste, and also to convert it into electricity and heat. Thank you. And Dr. Janet, the mic is yours.
Thank you for the kind introduction. This is I'll make it short. I would like to update you on the Thailand bioenergy policy and energy plan toward the carbon neutrality. This is my presentation plan. So my presentation will cover around 4 topics, which is the status on RE development in Thailand, the energy plan that we are working under, and the new plan which is coming up toward the carbon neutrality. To answer to the carbon neutrality, what is the driving policy that we use so far? And at last, some example on RE implementation project in Thailand and the market growth. Just to show you the overview of the RE ratio in Thailand right now. As you may know that we are working under the Alternative Energy Development Plan 2018, which run from 2018 to 2037. The main target of this plan of the RE is to increase the RE share up to at least 30% in the final energy consumption. And to show you the result that we have done, before the COVID came, we have been, we done quite well until the 2019. So we reached the peak at 16% of the RE share in final energy consumption. After that, due to the industrial activity that decreased as well, and the final energy consumption reduced as well. So we expect to rebound after 2022. So right now we have almost halfway through the 30% target of RE share in our final energy consumption. You can see that the majority of the RE is in the heat sector, which is in the blue color at the middle, and also the second is the electricity, and the third is the transport. Let me show you in detail that. This is the current RE status in Thailand as well. So split into three sectors. The energy sectors, we are now around 10,000 megawatt of RE share in the energy sector. You can see that in the solar PV, we around 1/3 of the target. We quite behind the target in the floating PV, but the plan is coming up. So we'll be having the floating PV in the near future more and more. In terms of biomass power plant, we are now at around 3,700 megawatt out of 5,700 megawatt. The biogas, we around one third as well, I would say, and we also promote the municipal solid waste or waste to energy. We are now around 400 megawatt of installed capacity, and it's coming up as well. So I'll show you in the next slides. We support to use industrial waste to produce energy, electricity as well, and also some small hydro. In the second session is the heat. You can see that the demand of heat the demand of heat is quite high, but the biomass play the majority roles in heat, especially in sugar industry and palm oil industry. Biogas is basically in the animal farm, and also there's the huge amount of use of RDF or municipal solid waste in cement industry as well. That's why the 120 KTOE is present here. For the biofuel, we, as you may know, that Thailand promote very strongly the use of ethanol, bioethanol, and biodiesel. Right now, the target of bioethanol is 7.5 milliliter per day, and now we are at 3 liters, 0.8 per day. The biodiesel, the target is 8 milliliter per day, and we are around a little bit less than 4, which is halfway. We have, for ethanol, we have 3 grades of what we call gasohol. We have E10, E20, and E85. So in the long run, we would reduce and mandate only single grade gasoline, which is probably E20. because we're not able to use the oil fund to fund the price anymore. The same thing as biodiesel. Right now we are at B7. We have B7 and B20. The B20 is for majority targeted to the heavy duty truck, and it's not the so it's not mandated nationwide. So as I mentioned, we are coming up with a new plan, the alternative energy plan, which is due to we have committed in the mission of carbon reduction. So we have target at 2030 to reduce 30 to 40% of greenhouse gas compared with the BAU case. And we have committed at the COP26 to reach the carbon neutrality by 2050, and also at by 2065, we hope that we can attain the net zero greenhouse gas. To be in line with the long-term strategy that I have mentioned previously, to focus on the energy sector. The energy sector in Thailand emit, I would say, the most compared to other sectors. So I have present here that at the end of 2050, the energy sector needs to squeeze itself. I mean, from now we emit around 250 million tons of CO2, and by 2050 we're gonna have to reduce it to under 100, so 95.5. So what we have done so far, we planned the new energy plan, which is under National Energy Plan, the AEDP, the new version of AEDP, which is targeted to promote the renewable energy, is part of the National Energy Plan as well. So the new energy plan, the overall goal is to promote the use of clean energy to reach the carbon neutrality by 2050 and the net zero by 2065. Also to increase the competitiveness of the investment capacity of the domestic entrepreneur to adapt to low carbon economy and technology. Also, the new plan which is coming up needs to comply with the long-term strategy that we have committed in the COP26. About driving policy, the National Energy Policy Council has announced the 4 main driving policy, which is the first one is the renewable energy in electricity sector. We hope and to have the renewable energy in electricity more than 50%. So we challenge ourselves to aim to 60 to 70% at the end of 2050. Also, we have planned to integrate the energy system storage as well. So the second one is the EV 30 at 30. It means 30% of new car by 2030 should be electric vehicle. The third policy is we're trying to increase the energy efficiency to more than 30%. And also, the fourth one is energy transition. We try to integrate the digitalization, decarbonization, decentralization, and deregulation and electrification into the plan. For all of the country, we try to also consider the energy security, higher income well-being, and environmental friendly. So I need to. So this is the implementation of the RE. We have community-based power plant, which is will provide some around 150 megawatt in the power system. We also have power purchase on RE, which is biogas, wind, solar, ground-mounted, and solar with battery storage. We have the government have purchased the waste to energy, which is industrial waste and municipal solid waste, around 400 megawatt. So all of it will be in the electricity system in the near future. So in the market, I just want to highlight that the solar rooftop for residential sector is now growing in Thailand. Not only they can provide electricity for themselves, for the residential, but also government offered to buy some excess electricity back to the grid as well. So the target, the annual target is 10 megawatt. So starting from 2022 onward. Just a short word on the EV market. Right now we have more electric vehicle than last year, almost double, and the charging station is expanding as well. So thank you. This is all for my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Chanet. Interesting to know and quite shocked because I just realized that in Thailand, in the power generation, biomass is 3.7 gigawatt. Like the first, like it's beyond the solar, is it? From your, it's 3.7 gigawatt, megawatt, okay. But yeah, it's still a great achievement because I think it's still the best among other ASEAN member states, if I am to be honest. And interesting to know the Thailand's strategy with the 4 strategy, RE electricity, EV 30 by 30, and also the EE, energy efficiency, and also 4D1E, interesting. So yeah, now we have come to the Q&A session. Before I begin with my question, I would like to invite if from the audience, do you have any questions to ask? Okay. Okay, if not, yeah, I have the liberty to start asking the question. So yeah, starting with the Thailand's, your presentation about the Thailand's strategy, I noted that EV is the new hype here. In the morning, we discussed a lot about EV, and unfortunately, I'm waiting for the question asking about EV and bioenergy, but it hasn't come up yet in the first morning session. So I would like to ask the question to the panel here about your opinion. What is your country's bioenergy development plan in responding to the rising attention to the EV promotion? So who would like to start first? Maybe, okay, Dr. Law, okay.
Okay, how bioenergy development can complement the EV targets in the future, yeah? So in Malaysia, under the Malaysia's low carbon mobility footprints, actually we expect to have 10,000 charging stations by 2025, and adoption of EV by 2040 about 38%, and also by 2050 about 80% under the National Energy Transition Roadmaps. Having said that, Malaysia doesn't have a car scrapping policy like Singapore. You know, like Singapore, the cars on road will be scrapped after like 10 years. But in Malaysia, you can drive the car forever as long as you maintain it and it's in good conditions. So I foresee there will be still a lot of old or used cars that will be available on road that could still be demanding for the biodiesel or the biofuel. Yeah. So on top of that, I think even charging station that need to be built needs to be looked into in terms of sustainability. So currently, most of the charging stations are using the coal power electricity. So in the future, I mean, bioelectricity from biomass per se could be the answer for, developing the promising ecosystem for the charging infrastructure. So in that, I think oil palm biomass, which has more than 2,000 megawatt of bioenergy potential, actually can be exploited for this bioelectricity generations, which can complement the fossil-based electricity for charging the electric car. So I would say by 2050, even though there's a high target, but bioenergy still can proceed. It will complement the other initiative. Yeah, we can't be actually phase out the petrol car or diesel car completely by then. Yeah. So unless there's a really drastic change of policy. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you, Dr. Lo. The keywords complement, and I agree with you. We cannot like throw away all these well-established petroleum cars like straight to the EV because it's also the waste of resource. Yeah. So that's great insight. And then next maybe Bu Elis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. For Indonesian case, after we successfully reducing diesel fuel import by implementing biodiesel mandatory program, our homework now is how to reduce the gasoline imports. Government already consider about the EV, so we plan to reduce the dependence on gasoline import by implementing EV and also bioethanol. And when we are drafting our grand strategy of national energy, we made some adjustment that we reduce the target of biofuel to 15%. We've done this to make the EV calculate in our grand strategy of national energy, not just EV but also the flexi engine and also bioethanol. So I believe that EV and bio fuel both can be complement of each other. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bu Elis. Again, complement is the words. Nevertheless, Indonesia has very many cars, so every avenue or alternative to convert the transport into a greener is pretty much appreciated, right? And Dr. Chanet?
So I think to go back to the original thought of the biofuel promotion in Thailand, the original thought is to support the product, the internal product, domestic product, to use palm oil or molasses within the country to produce fuel or energy. So even though the EV disruption has been growing and is growing up sky high, the policy maker and our plan in terms of alternative energy plan will still consider farmer and biofuel industry important for our country. So we try to keep the industry running, of course, because as the panelists were saying, that we won't jump into the EV straight away. It's just, I think to see our country, biofuel and bioethanol will still play important role and significant role in the transport sector. it's depend it's depend on the situation that will come up. Maybe we adjust the blending ratio to uh, or but anyway, holistically, I think in the long run or in the transition stage, biofuel will still play an important role in the transport sector in Thailand. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chanet. And yeah, I agree. First, I would like to highlight Dr. Chanet remarks that what's the main purpose of bioenergy development is back to the farmer, like want to thrive the economy from the down level, make sure they are thriving, right? So that's a really good insight, and agree with you that in the near term, I believe also that biofuel is the transitional pathway before we really can fully embrace EV and its supply chain.
Can I,
yeah,
can I
sure,
add
Dr.
on, yeah, based on that, actually, the world's trend now is on establishing circular economy. So to utilize all these byproduct from the industry is a very crucial move for this kind of establishment. So basically, everyone is looking for on biocircular economy. So yeah, there is a way forward.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Again, that's also a important message. Biocircular economy. I believe Thailand government also advocating a lot about biocircular green economy model, right? Thank you. And again, I would like to invite if the audience have any question. If not, I would like to move on to the second question. Now moving on to the new hype beside EV, now we are having this emerging trends with the sustainable aviation fuel. It promising a lot of high demand because it's aviation industry, of course, the major emitter also in the transportation sector. And so I would like to invite your opinion. What is your country's plan in capturing this growing demand for the sustainable aviation fuel? Maybe starting from, maybe Dr. Chanet, do you want to start first?
So I think as similar to any other country, we now start talking about the sustainable aviation fuel. Thailand as well. We have been it has been a fruitful and serious discussion about to implement the sustainable aviation fuel in our alternative energy plan. And last year, it's been announced the investment plan in Thailand that I think is be more coming up in the near future. So in terms of policymaker, I think we need more study in our department. We need more discussion, and to be able to launch the solid policy, and which we are working on it right now. So I think aviation fuel will answer to, to respond to the carbon neutrality. This is an important aspect and sector, and yeah, Thailand is very much considered to do it.
Thank you. And maybe Dr. Loh, yeah.
Yeah. From the policy perspective, as Malaysia is the member state of the International Council Aviation Organization ICAO, where they actually set a target of blending the aviation fuel of 1 to 2% by 2050 to meet the net zero carbon emission target. So Malaysia is also adopting that. So under the National Energy Transition Roadmap 2050, actually we also target certain percentage blending of the sustainable aviation fuel, mainly from the feedstock, for example, from the used cooking oil. That is the most sought after feedstock by the world nowadays. but we also have other byproducts from the palm oil industry that can become the feedstock for this sustainable aviation fuel productions. Having said that, I'm from the research perspective because I'm more on the research, not policy. I have been doing research on oil palm biomass, converting it to bioethanol for more than 10 years, I think maybe 20 years. And we can see that actually converting biomass to bioethanol, the yield is very good. Compared to converting biomass to aviation fuel, the yield is maybe 10 times more. But because of there's no policy, I mean there's no demand on this bioethanol from oil palm biomass in the country, or there will be also issue to export this kind of bioethanol. So the project didn't really take off, but compared to aviation fuel, because of the ICAO's mandated requirement on this segment, so there's a boom in this area. I mean, so to deploy a biomass for renewable energy or bioenergy generation, the key is actually what are the carrot and stick. If you have the carrot and the stick, I mean the incentive or the policy supported by governments or some international organization like ICAO, so the project can slowly or immediately, take off. So for example, with this kind of requirement for the aviation fuel, by the way, aviation fuel's emission is only a few percentage compared to the overall greenhouse gas emissions, right? But Malaysia's, our giant petroleum company, Petronas, has actually embarked on this together with 2 overseas partners to build a biorefinery, which is a very huge biorefinery at one of the state, Johor in Malaysia. So the plants will be ready by 2025. And this plant is expected to actually produce a range of bio-based products, sustainable aviation fuel, hydrotreated vegetable oil, advanced sustainable biofuel, and also biochemicals. So let's have cause our, let's see how it develops. But I mean, policy intervention or the global requirements, that is the key for this, you see. Otherwise, it will never take off because all the renewable energy, green energy, the movement will be actually on the expense of expensive costs at this point in time.
Thank you, Dr. Lo. And now, Bu Alice, please take your time. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, actually we already have a bioafter mandate that we should have implemented 3% of bioafter blending since 2020, but due to several reasons, which is mainly due to the lack of feedstock, technical, and also industry that have not been ready, the mandate is not yet implemented. But on 2021 is become our milestone when we successfully conduct the flying test, and now which then follow this year when we do the flight test using commercial aircraft. And after that, we hope that we can implement the bioafter blending on a large scale. But before that, a few measures should be taken. Right now, our government and related stakeholder preparing a roadmap and also encourage the bioafter production on a large scale. And we also mapping the potential feedstock, which now still based on RBDPKO, but maybe we will find others, maybe such as the UCO. And also this last September is very busy for our staff because we have many discussion first with Hiroshima University and then with IATA and also with Singapore, related the possibility of cooperation in a SAF program. So maybe, we'll see the next. Okay.
We'll see. Again, thank you very much for the insightful sharing. I learned a lot, like the initiatives, the country. Actually, I see that the ASEAN member countries is well informed, like you know the trends and already like preparing about capturing the growing demands from the movement in the world. And yeah, that's really an optimistic message for us. And yeah, because the time is up, apologies that I want to ask more, but we need to give some space and also time for the next session. Again, thank you very much for our beautiful panelists here. Thank you for the attention. And yeah, turn back the mic to our Madam MC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Monica and all panelists. May I invite you for a photo session here? Please smile to the camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. Again, 1, 2, 3, smile. Again, 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you. Thank you, all panelists. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start with the panel session 2, I would like to invite all of you to have a very quick 5-minute short break. May I remind you that coffee and tea is served outside of this room, but please do take your tea inside and enjoy it inside of this room as we are starting our panel in the next 5 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite all of you to come back to your seat as we are starting our program shortly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming back here on time. Now we are about to start the last panel session of the day. The session will discuss the possibility of developing a sustainable bioenergy market in ASEAN. First, please welcome to the stage the Special Advisor to the President on Energy Affairs of IRIA, Mr. Shigeru Kimura. And now I would like to invite all panelists, Ms. Queenie Rojo, the Executive Director of Ethanol Producer Association of the Philippines, Mr. Yoshinobu Kusano, Executive Advisor at Renova, Mr. Dodi Setiawan, the Principal Advisor of GIZ Indonesia, and Mr. Caleb Worth, the Regional Director of Southeast Asia and Oceania for the U.S. Greens Council. Please give them a round of applause. Kimura Sensei, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Italias, for your kind introduction. And again, very good afternoon, everybody. This session is, we have some discussion on the biofuel market. But before that, I'd like to express my thanks, all of you, for your participation to the EV and the Bioenergy conference, and appreciate your another patient, another 1 hour. Then we have the 1 hour, and we have four panelists, so that I give you the 10 minutes to each panelist. So that please introduce your presentations, make presentation in the 10 minutes. I check the time so that if time is over, I say the stop. So much appreciate the timekeeping. And so this time is talk about the bio energy market. In case of the, when you're talking about the market, there are two players, producer and the consumer. And also the logistics company to connect between the producer and the consumers. So that in case of market, we need three players, producers, logistics, and the consumer. Then we can set up the market. So that the producers, they have cost. Logistics, they have cost. Consumer is they hope the lower price. So that I think it's market is really related with economics. So that bioenergy market and the market price is affordable or reasonable. I think that everybody can accept the market. But if market price is high, consumers hesitate to join this market. So that today we have the panelists from the two one biofuel associations and one bio power generation companies from Japan, and also the bioenergy analyst from the GIZ, and also the expert of the grain market from United States. So that anyway, the session one talk about the policy, bioenergy policy, but this session we have the more practical aspect in terms of the bioenergies. So that very much appreciate the my intention, and also the in case of the bio market, I think the market price and also the supply chain is very important. There is a producer, but there is a consumer. But if no supply chain, I think that it's not a market. So that I very much appreciate your presentation is a touch upon the biofuel market, the solid biomass market, and also the grain market. Then each market is how contribute to the bioenergy market, establishment of the bioenergy market in the ASEAN region. So I'd like to discuss about these issues, and also the very much appreciate everybody touch upon the what is your issue, current issue, and what is your current next challenge. If possible, please touch upon the my request. That is structure of strategy of this panel session. So that based on the following to the this concept, I very much appreciate the participant in here to consider the question to the panelist, and also the much appreciate the online participant. Also, you raise your good question to the panelist. Now my speech is over, and I move on to the panel session, but focus on the presentations. So firstly, I'd like to invite the Mrs. Queenie Rojo, Executive Director of the Ethanol Producer Association of the Philippines. So that Ms. Rojo, floor is yours.
Hi. Thank you for inviting the association here. I am Queenie Rojo. In Spanish, in English, that's red. May I request? So, the outline, introduction, where are we now? What are the challenges? What are the solutions, strategies, and steps? How should we work together in ASEAN? So EPAP was established back in 2008, and it is a 10-member association that hopes to be a catalyst for countryside development and climate change mitigation. We struggle to do what is right so that when we sell our ethanol, it provides good profit, not just for us producers, but for the farmers or our feedstock suppliers, and reasonable and fair to the consuming public. Next slide, please. So this is the energy consumption. Highest is the transport. That is my sector. Then the household, next industry, service, agriculture. So the combined transport and industry, which we hope to influence, is about 50% in the share. Next. And consumption by fuel, it is 50% oil products. Electricity is 21, biomass is 20, biofuel is pegged only at 1.5. Still on the consumption, next slide. These are the breakdown of consumption by fuel as to the transport and fuel by residences and services and the agriculture sector. As you can see, we have so much growth, and you look at this, where the stars are, that is where we are, and the rest is up for our influence for growth. So biofuels in the transport sector, we are only about 4.3%. In the service sector, we are only at almost 7% combined with biomass. And with residential, that's big because that's fuel, and this is in the households, and this was just 2021 coming out from the lockdown. And agriculture sector, our biodiesel share is at very low 0.7%. Next slide, please. And so what's the supply mix? So the supply mix, if you can see, the inner circle is about self-sufficiency. So in 2021, self-sufficiency, or what you can see is indigenous, we are at 51.1%. We are importing coal and oil. And the breakdown of this is our net imported biofuels is only at 0.3%, and the bioethanol local, indigenous, is at same, 0.3%. As you can see, our indigenous are mostly renewable, except for the coal at 12.5%. Next slide, please. And this is a better picture also. The indigenous, we are at 52.5, biomass, ethanol, we are just pegged at 14%. So much room for growth with the liquid fuels in the Philippines. Next slide, please. What are the challenges? Biomass, bioethanol, the feedstock. The quality, the quantity, the resource supply, and also Even if we are 80% of our capacity as supplied by molasses and sugar, the law prohibits us to import molasses from Indonesia or from the region. We are not we are not allowed to use imported feedstock for the biofuels. Or even in, if you are a biomass producer, bioenergy producer, you need to have a special permit from the Department of Energy if you are to import wood chips. Because there's a certain tariff, special price for indigenous feedstock, pegged at 6.63 pesos per kilowatt. So this is in the Renewable Energy Law and the Biofuels Act. And of course, there's a challenge in cost. Before we had a breakthrough in the biofuels, specifically bioethanol, the cost of our molasses was only about 2,800 pesos per metric ton. After 10 years of prioritizing local bioethanol, our molasses is the most expensive in the world, like 16,000 pesos per metric ton. That's because of the feedstock control. So we are, beginning 2019, we have been requesting the government to allow us a calibrated, regulated importation for efficiency of our plant, because we need to stop a month or two because we lack feedstock. Also, another challenge is the project lead time. Construction is 1.5 to 3 years, but not included here is the mobilization of the suppliers, undertaking contracts with farmers group. And because we have comprehensive agrarian reform, we chop all the haciendas, big lands, and we give it to farmers. Now we have to consolidate them. So one of our producer took like 7 years to be able to produce. And of course, strenuous compliance. Next slide, please. So these are the solutions. If it's a workshop, I would give prizes to those who can identify all this. So that's the wind, the nat gas, digitalization, analytics for planning, energy efficiency, EV, higher blends, carbon footprint monitoring, nuclear, waste to energy, investment, and solar. So these are part of the strategies to address the challenges, and it's indicated in the resources in Philippine Energy Plan 2018 to 2040. Next slide, please. But I focus on this. Our breaking barriers for deployment as of our perspective is to simplify, educate, and invest. Educate awareness, simplify coordination, and even invest in R&D, modernization of agriculture and waste sector. And if I may just ask the operator to double-click this ASEAN, we have already in ASEAN identified strategic thrusts for biomass energy, how we should work together. Next slide, please. So, how should we work together as private sector and INGO and government in ASEAN? One, implement strategies already indicated in this draft. I am not aware if this has been finalized. Is increased production, we use analytics, digitalization. The thrust is to establish network on R&D and training, and enhance awareness, best policy practices, what we are doing here. And number 4 is investment, energy financing. And the second is regional, let's start to have a regional discussion on harmonizing carbon footprint pricing. And then the last is, on EV, this is a question. Is it possible for car manufacturers to convert engines to full flex and do hybrid EV just like that of Brazil? Because in Brazil, they also have Toyota there. All of the leading car manufacturers are really manufacturing engine that could run from 100% gasoline to 100% ethanol. The blending takes place in the car's tank, and it's coupled with battery, so it's a full flex hybrid engine, electric vehicle, and it runs well. Imagine in the Philippines, if I were to do it, in the Philippines, our cars, like example, Toyota, their manufacturing plant is in Thailand. And I could imagine landed cost of pure gasoline in the Philippines is 60 pesos. The landed cost of imported corn ethanol from the US,
Summarize, please.
summarize, this is my last slide. The landed cost of corn ethanol from the US is only 32 pesos. So if we have full flex engine and we can run on, we have the freedom to blend ourselves based on the price. With EV to address the exhaust, then I think it could be sustainable. It's a win-win scenario. Thank you very much. The next slide is just a thank you.
Thank you. It's finished. Thank you very much for your presentations. And maybe later I have a question to use. Next panelist is, I'd like to invite Mr. Yoshinobu Kusano-san. He's executive advisor of the Renova Increment. Renova is a very famous company of the renewable energy companies. So Kusano-san, floor is yours.
Thank you. I come from customer, so I'm very happy to hear that there are plenty of opportunity having bioenergy from ASEAN countries. My point is that ASEAN is rich in bioenergy. It can make ASEAN sustainably renewable as manufacturing countries and as consuming countries. Bioenergy includes solid biomass and liquid biomass. Solid biomass replaces coal, while liquid biomass replaces oil. Most recently, emerging issue is that liquid biomass can replace existing jet fuel with SAF, standing for Sustainable Aviation Fuel, the fuel to fly aircraft. I will touch on liquid biomass first. There are many technologies to make SAF from different feedstock, including wood and waste oil. But additionally, ASEAN has an oil seed with non-edible oil. I think these can be used as a feedstock of SAF. It is simple and easy. Commercial aircraft fly all over the world. So SAF demand is everywhere. Regarding a solid biomass for power sector, let me talk, as this is my specialty. Japan needs biomass to achieve carbon neutrality target by 2050. When people talk renewable, Maybe solar panel, windmill are most people's image. But solar doesn't work if sun is not shining. Windmill doesn't work if wind is not blowing. But biomass can run the power plants 24 hours, day and night, without influenced by weather change. Biomass can be a base load electricity. When 24 hours operation needed, it can do. When adjustment of power supply needed, it can do. Although the combination of solar with battery or windmill with battery, they can be more stable and constant. They can be more stable and constant electricity supply. But biomass is, by nature, stable and controllable. So biomass is very important to me, to renewable energy, renewable power industry. Another point is that biomass can be a direct replacement of coal. For example, Drax of UK is a good example of fuel conversion from coal to biomass. In Japan, we have many coal-fired power plants. By 2030, inefficient facilities must be phased out. Remaining many coal-fired power plants, they should co-fire coal and biomass, increasing biomass ratio to a full conversion target. That way, we can change coal-fired power plants to biomass-fired power plant. The point here, the existing power plants can be reborn as biomass-fired power plants with a smooth transition from fossil fuel to renewable fuel. Hydrogen and ammonia are the potential fuel to co-fire with coal. Many projects overseas, particularly in Australia, are busy realizing blue hydrogen or green hydrogen production. I believe it will come in the future, but a quick solution tomorrow is biomass. ASEAN can be the best supply source of solid biomass. Plenty of feedstock available in ASEAN, not only woody biomass, but also agricultural residue biomass. Japan currently imports wood pellets, wood chips, and PKS from overseas. We also use wood chips coming from a domestic forest. But we need import biomass because we need more biomass and bioenergy. This year, the Japanese government, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, has approved 12 kinds of agricultural residue as FIT qualified fuel. From that category, PKS and palm trunks were approved already. So this time, 12 others are added to the list. This is very good movement. We anticipate a variety of biomass from ASEAN. One important issue is Japan needs sustainability certification on all biomasses. This is required not only on woody biomass, but also on agricultural residue biomass. In addition, we need life cycle greenhouse gas calculation, life cycle GHG calculation, carbon footprint on biomass from the production to the power plant. We need to calculate CO2 emissions covering entire process. Talking about PKS in Japan, many PKS without certification cannot be burned at power plants on or after 1st of April 2024, next year April. The grace period has been given during the COVID years. I believe the industry is trying to make more certified PKS ready to export to Japan before the grace period is over. Japan needs import more biomass fairly and squarely without causing any environmental friction. In case of agricultural residue, without causing friction against food usage. Looking at heavy industries, they need biomass or bioenergy as a fossil fuel replacement. Heavy users of coal, like power industry, they have several ways making themselves renewable, but I'm sure biomass or bioenergy will play an important role. Lastly, I want to say that torrefaction is necessary on solid biomass. As of today, no torrefaction company could achieve its commercial scale production in any part of the world. It is hard to achieve satisfactory quality with reasonable price. For torrefaction, solid biomass, each potential user got its own specification and its own requirements. They need variety of different quality torrefaction biomass. In here, the discussion between a potential end user and a potential supplier is vitally important. I'm very glad to participate in a panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kusano-san, for your informative presentations. And later, I have some question to you. Now, I'd like to invite the third speaker is Mr. Dodi Setiawan. Sorry, he's a principal advisor GIZ Indonesia. So, Mr. Dodi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Could you share the slide? Okay, first of all, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity for inviting GIZ Indonesia to present our research and activity in Indonesia regarding bioenergy sector. So before I move on with the presentation, I would like to first introduce GIZ. GIZ is a German development agency, so we work with the developing countries, with the government, especially in Indonesia, with Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, to promote renewable energy in Indonesia. And we, in my project, we mainly focus on bioenergy utilizations and especially for agro-industrial waste. And previous panelists discussing about ethanol and biomass, but in this presentation, I will focus on the biomethane, or the gaseous form of bioenergy. And I will start with the bioenergy utilization pathways. So we identify 6 agro-industry commodities in Indonesia: cassava, rice, palm oil, sugarcane, pulp and paper, and wood. And we identify different forms of waste, including solid waste that has been explained before, and then wastewater that is normally further processed through anaerobic digestion and converted into biogas. And this biogas can be used directly as for the gas burner or gas engine to produce electricity, or further processed through upgrading facility as biomethane. And this biomethane has characteristics almost similar to natural gas and can be used to substitute fossil fuels such as natural gas, LPG, and also diesel fuel. So what is biomethane? Biomethane is the upgraded version of biogas. So normally biogas has methane content around 60%, and the remaining consists of carbon dioxide. And biomethane has a methane content of more than 90%. So the heat value is almost similar with the natural gas. So in terms of the price comparison for the Indonesian case, the compressed biomethane gas is already competitive with compressed natural gas, especially in Java. And this is much cheaper than fossil fuel alternatives such as non-subsidized LPG and also diesel fuel. And globally, biomethane has been utilized in Europe and also North America. And with the energy crisis in the recent years, EU further emphasized the importance of biomethane. So they aim to increase the biomethane production to tenfold to 35 by 2030. And it is expected also in the Asia Pacific that the biomethane production is also increased, especially in India, China, and also Southeast Asia. The production process, we start with the biomass resources, which is normally liquid waste. In agro-industry, we focus on palm oil mill effluent, and then liquid waste of tapioca production. And with this feedstock, we convert to biogas through anaerobic digestion, and then we remove hydrogen sulfate and moisture, and then we remove the CO2 through biogas upgrading, and then compress and store for easy transportation. So this is the value chain. So after we get the biomethane, we can use directly through distribution pipeline. But normally, we compress and then we use it, and we transport and then we use it. Because in Indonesia, the biomethane plant potential are located far away from the demand. And the utilization varies from vehicle fuel, electricity production through gas engine or diesel engine conversion, heat and process, heat for cooking, and also gas grid injection. There is one commercial biomethane project in East Kalimantan that was also mentioned by Ibu Alice before. And this biomethane plant is producing biomethane from palm oil mill effluent, and they use the biomethane for replacing the diesel fuel for its truck operation around the palm oil mills and also palm oil plantations, as well as to replace diesel fuel in the diesel genset around the plantation areas. They reported that they save up to 2 million liters per year for these biomethane projects. And we identified three main utilization pathways for biomethane. The first one is for commercial and industrial sector. This is simply to replace CNG and also LPG, especially for most industry and also commercial. What I mean with commercial here could also cover hotels, restaurant, hospitals, which normally use LPG for heating or cooking processes. And because biomethane is already competitive with the LPG and CNG, so there is no need for further incentive or subsidy for these particular applications. And then the second one is biomethane for diesel fuel substitution at a PLTD or a diesel genset. In Indonesia, we have around 5,000 diesel engines across archipelago. And this amount, the total capacity is around 2 gigawatt. But it's not easy to replace this with the solar PV and the battery because the cost is still expensive, and then because the diesel engine is still in good condition, so it still have a high book value. So we identified two technical options. The first one is to partially replace the diesel fuel through dual diesel fuel or converter kit to the existing diesel engine. And then the second one is to fully substitute the diesel fuel by replacing the diesel engine to gas engine. So that way they can still utilize the asset, the land, and other existing facilities, and utilize biomethane to replace diesel fuel. And then the last one, injecting biomethane to gas network. So this is very important but I put it in the last pathway because this is difficult. Why? Because most of the biomethane are located in Sumatra and also Kalimantan, the potentials are there, but the demands are located in Java, so it's in different islands. So how to match this is basically to inject the biomethane to the natural gas pipeline, and then use a biomethane certification scheme to claim that the user in Java then can claim that they utilize this biomethane through this certification. So basically a similar scheme as a renewable energy certificate. So it's produced in another place but used also in another place and guaranteed with this certification. Yeah, this is an overview about the potential. We identify biomass sources for biomethane from palm oil mill effluent, tapioca, wastewater, and manure, around 900 sites or locations, and mostly located in these 8 provinces in Sumatra and also Kalimantan. And we also identify potential for injecting biomethane to gas infrastructure in Sumatra. And as we can see in the slide, the distance from the palm oil mill and also other biomethane potential in close proximity to gas pipeline. And there is also possibility to export the biomethane to other country, such as Singapore, because we have pipeline from Riau to Singapore. And this is regarding biomethane certificate. So to accompany the biomethane injection to gas pipeline, we need biomethane certificates because this would provide additional value from the green value of the biomethane that the end user will need to tap to offset the scope emission 1. So with this biomethane certificate, then we expect it could also give incentives or additional revenue for the biomethane project developer. At the same time, the end user can offset their scope 1 emission through this biomethane utilization. And this is already common practice in the Europe and the UK, and they have different price range considering different feedstock and different situation in different countries. Okay, that's all my presentation, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Todis. Thank you very much for your timekeeping. And last but not least, I'd like to invite the 4 speakers, Mr. Grab Ulls, is okay? And he's Regional Director of the Southeast Asia and Oceania for the US Grain Councils. So I think the US is a very famous country of the bioethanol, E10, E100, E80 or something like so that I think that comes from the grain. So very interesting over the your presentations. So now Mr. Kreb, the floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. I have the distinct luxury of being the last speaker of the last session of the day. So I'm gonna change it up a little bit, and I'm not going to present a presentation, and yet kind of talk about maybe the day and some of my comments, and maybe in context of why I'm here today. So first, I certainly appreciate the coordinators of this event inviting me. I do realize that I am not Southeast Asian, if it might be obvious. Tapi saya duduk di Malaysia untuk 6 tahun, so this is my home, and we do a lot of work here. And the U.S. Grains Council is an organization that was founded really in response to the strategic partnerships around the world, but specifically here in Southeast Asia. We here in the region, for the longest time, since the late 1980s and early 90s, have been working with agricultural ministries in the region, developing, going from backyard farming to the modern agricultural structures that that we see in places like Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia. And most recently, about 10 years ago, and really accelerated 7 years ago, 7 years ago when I landed in the region, biofuels. Because of the geography and the opportunities here, biofuels have become part of the conversation in Southeast Asia. So, what I want to discuss is, and I guess furthermore, before I go into it, the Grains Council, what we do is consult governments and private industries on how to build ecosystems around biofuel use, and particularly corn ethanol and ethanol in general. Most recently, I guess I will be proud to say we work with ITBE and the development of the Indonesia Biofuel Roadmap. We work very closely with our Philippine partners and their very successful biofuel program, as well as others around the region. And it's, goes with, it should be noted and highlighted and commended that Indonesia has just begun its pilot program of the RON 95 E5 gasoline grade that can be found in Jakarta as well as Surabaya. So it's very commendable, and it's a really, really good step forward in the right direction. So, a lot of what we talked about a few different items here today. Cost, environmental impact, food security, and human health. So I want to touch just for a few minutes on some of these items. I think Southeast Asia is going to have to grapple with the cost of what we want to do in terms of biofuel use and decarbonization, right? We talked about $64 billion in subsidy for EV vehicles. Now, we will have to grapple with that we are subsidizing $64 billion for EV vehicles that today are fueled by 60 to 80% fossil fueled material, right? And that those EV vehicles today are only accessible to the top 2 or 3% of our populations. Now, I do believe, just because I do represent biofuels and I do believe in biofuels, I think the future will have a dual solution. I don't think it was touched on enough today, but hybridization is going to be a key component of the EV mix, like we do in the United States, as you can see in Brazil, what you see in Thailand as well. But EVs will have a place in the future. However, we're going to have to be smart, and we're going to have to be realistic on how much subsidy we put into a transportation mode that still uses heavily coal in particular, but other fossil fuels here in Southeast Asia. And we're going to have to look at total life cycle analysis into the future. Does our transportation, what is the full life cycle analysis of the solution? If we talking about battery production, we're talking about mining, we're talking about the creation of the vehicle itself, and the dispose of the vehicle. We're going to have to take into account all of these when we look at, are we really decarbonizing the planet, and are we making the environment locally more healthy? That goes into a little bit of human health, right? So not only should we be looking at decarbonizing, but if you guys go outside and when you fly into Jakarta, you see the physical haze. And I think biofuels are not only a mechanism for decarbonization, but we're talking about human health. Now, we didn't go into the chemistry of ethanol or biodiesel, but essentially for ethanol in particular, it's an oxygenate. It adds the power and booster, if you will, to your gasoline. And what are you taking out? You're taking out MTBE and other oxygenants that cause the pollution in the air. So Thailand has realized this a long time ago. The Philippines have realized this a long time ago. I think Indonesia and other places will appreciate the benefit of lowering particulate matter in our fuel exhaust, decreasing smog, increasing human health. So these are one of the benefits, I think, that we should be talking about and that we should be examining when we talk about the total benefits of biofuels in our economy. Food security. I think a lot of the talk will be about food security and how do we take, the United States uses corn, okay? Indonesia will have some corn production go into ethanol production because of the economics. The world is not short of carbohydrates. We actually feed our kids across populations too much starch. Here in Southeast Asia, we have stunting and malnutrition, primarily because of expansive rice programs where we feed rice with low protein values. We see this all over the world. Actually, obesity and stunting are caused by the same thing. Too much starch, too little protein and fat. Too little protein, I'm sorry. And so what we do with a corn kernel has three components, or any other starch grain, is starch, lipid, and protein. And through the ethanol process, we take out the starch and produce fuel. And we give back the protein, concentrate it back into the form of dried distiller's grains, which can be fed to cattle, which can be fed to chickens, which actually can be fed back to the person. And then lipids, right? The fat goes right back into the human stream as well. So what we're looking at is concentrating of nutrients and putting that back into the system, which is very, very effective and really counter to a lot of the food versus fuel discussion that we have globally. So we have to look about the true nature of these things, what we're actually pulling from any sort of stream, any sort of residue to make ethanol, and what we're putting back into the system. And it's going to come down to cost at the end of the day, right? In the Philippines, it's quite interesting. We literally had zero ethanol production not too long ago. They now produce 1 to 2 billion liters of ethanol. And a part of the reason why you produce ethanol is to create a market for local agrarian industries. In the Philippines, it was sugarcane. Here in Indonesia, again, it will be sugarcane. As Indonesia increases its demand for sugar, you'll plant more sugarcane, produce more molasses. The Philippines now has the highest price for molasses in the world. Okay, how are they able to do that? The farmer now has high price for molasses. Okay, the ethanol plant now has a guaranteed market into the fuel. And how do they pay for it? They actually use the United States to subsidize the ethanol. How do they do that? They import U.S. ethanol that is efficiently produced. And now we have lower emissions in the tailpipe. We have value up and down the agricultural commodity chain. And I think, and I don't want to steal too much thunder from my friend Queenie, but we're looking to take it to the next level to 20% with this system. I think Indonesia will have an opportunity to mimic the same. So there's, I guess, in summary, there's a ton of opportunity. Really excited for not only Indonesia but the rest of Southeast Asia to take a driver's seat in telling the world what should SAF be produced from, how we should maximize biofuel in the tank, how we can hybridize electric vehicles with bioethanol. These are sort of the decisions I think Southeast Asia can make because, quite frankly, this is where the growth is. This is where the population is. We're really in the driver's seat. Thank you. I'll hand back the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karab. So a very interesting presentation. So now I received the question from the floor after my question too. So the first one is a question to the Mrs. Queenies. You are executive director of the Ethanol Produce Association. How many members do you have?
We started with 3. Now we have 10 members.
10 members.
And operating 13 plants.
Okay.
With 464 million liters per year.
Okay. Then using this, what is the feedstock of the this sugarcane? Or
The only feedstock is sugarcane juice and molasses for now.
process? Import from this Indonesia.
Yes, and the Biofuels Act is really the main objectives of the law is for the farmers' income. Like sugar, the traditional mill just produce sugar back in the 1980s. Now, because of the Biofuels Act of 2001, they can produce 3 products: sugar, molasses, bioethanol from molasses, and power from the biomass. The
so
bagasse.
that the government is guarantee the price? Or,
Yes.
or-
So we have a reference price. It's uploaded in the Sugar Regulatory Act every 2 weeks based on the sugar and molasses bidding prices, the average.
oh,
It is not a perfect law,
Okay.
but it helps the farmers having 3 income streams.
Thank you very much. And one more, so including the import of the bioethanol? No.
Oh, because the demand, we do not import, it's the oil companies that imports
Okay, okay.
to blend for
okay.
ethane.
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So next question is Xano-san, and Xano-san is a very famous company of the Renova. They are biomass power generations. And in case of Japan, there is already biomass supply chain is established. Produce, import, maybe wood chips, wood, and change it to, fabricate it to the wood pellet, then use for the power generation. But here, it's no biomass as wood pellet and wood chip supply chain here. So that how do you think about the business opportunity for your company in ASEAN regions?
Well, first of all, the total system is not yet established. Totally not yet established. As I told you, we are 80% of our requirement importing from overseas. Wood chips, wood pellet, precast, and as I told you, some agricultural residue things are coming in. So already 5 or 6 kinds. And also in terms of the supplier side, in the past, I can say between 2017 and 2019, when Japanese IPPs are busy signing the contract, long-term contract with suppliers, these major suppliers in North America is now raise their hand because of the cost increase caused by the inflation after COVID period is over. So we are forced to review, including that looks like stable long-term agreement. So that is why I said there are many opportunities in ASEAN to be a part of, or even major part of, the biomass, biofuel, bioenergy supplier to Japanese market.
Thank you very much, and I think it's very good news for the ASEAN members. So you have the you start the like wood pellet and wood chip production companies and export to the Japan, and maybe but it is you need say the some long-term contract, supply contract.
Well, it depends.
How long?
It depends. Probably, maybe I say too much, but my team is negotiating like 10 years, 15 years contract, or in a middle term, 3 years, 5 years contract, or even a spot purchase or yearly purchase. So variety.
So that's so if possible, so your company to import wood pellet or just wood from the Indonesians?
From Indonesia, wood pellet is fine.
Wood fine. So,
wood pellet is fine
So
as
that,
far as it is
okay.
feedstock is a wood.
So that I think I suggested somebody established a company to produce the wood pellet and export to the Japan. So that Japan is really is need the wood pellet for the co-firing with coal power plant. Same as the Indonesian. Next question is Mr. Dodid. So a very interesting presentation, biomethane. I think that biomethane is some chemical process using the biomass. So that how about cost of competitiveness to the existing methane? And also you say biomethane is produced in Sumatra, but demand side is Java. So how to transport? Biomethane is basically gas, so that change it to liquid, then transport to, how do you think about it? So please.
Test. Yeah, the first questions about the cost, right? The cost competitiveness. So we assess different source, different feedstock of biomethane with palm oil mill effluent, because this has no competition. Sorry, the feedstock cost can be assumed as 0, for example. This could be very low, and this is already competitive. The price range is similar with CNG, compressed natural gas in Java, so between 10 to 14, 15 USD per MMBTU. But with other feedstock, for example, from manure or from the corn cob, for example, this would be slightly more expensive. Yeah. But I don't have any exact number, because there is no project using that feedstock. And then the second question is how to match between the supply in Sumatra and also demand in Java. So the biomethane form is gas. The same characteristic as natural gas. And since we have this natural gas infrastructure from Sumatra connecting to Java, and this is
already
yeah.
existing
Yeah.
pipeline.
Yeah, and it could be bundled, meaning the same infrastructure, or unbundled. So the idea of certification is we have these two, bundle and unbundled. So the idea is that to inject the biomethane to gas pipeline in Sumatra, and then claim this as the biomethane certificate, and then the user in Java buying the same natural gas from the same owner, they can purchase the natural gas plus biomethane certificate. And we have already some companies from Japan, from RE100 companies are interested to utilize this scheme, because they wanted to decarbonize the scope 1 emission, because this is very difficult. Normally they use biomass to produce heat, so biomass boiler and the steam to replace the natural gas. But this is also limited in Java, because the woody biomass, the solid biomass, has very high competition in Java, because now for CFPP co-firing, and then industry also use solid biomass, some also exported. So biomass is very high competition. But biomethane, this is something new, and I believe there is a good prospect in that technology.
Thank you very much. And one more question is, but anyway, is when we transport biomethane to the from Sumatra to Java using the pipeline, we need to pay some cost, or free?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the business model is still the business model is still being discussed, but ideally there should be some kind of toll fee, so the fee to pay for the infrastructure.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I have some question to the Mr. Kareb. And you belong to the U.S. Grain Council. So that how do you see the biobus market in ASEAN region? So that my question is, you want to some export bioethanol from the Indonesia to US, or you want to import bioethanol from the US to here? So what is your business opportunities?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. To put in perspective, the United States is the largest producer of bioethanol, and we import bioethanol from places like Brazil. This is because it's just cost effective. So I think in a perfectly efficient economy, right, there will be buying and selling from countries back and forth depending on the objectives. Now, I do think there are very nationalistic objectives here to why you start a bioethanol program. But in order to use the feedstock that Southeast Asians want to use for feedstock, it's going to be expensive, more expensive than gasoline. So in order for that to happen, you'll need to cost blend it down to make it more affordable so you don't have to subsidize. And I think that's going to be the magic key. And the United States, you may buy it from the United States, you may buy it from Brazil, you may buy it from Pakistan, but it's responsible if you want to decarbonize but not have to subsidize the biofuel industry.
Thank you very much. And that is US is no subsidized, but in here is some need some subsidized. So yeah, but different because the scale of the production of bioethanol is very huge in the United States. So that I think that they can make the cost down. But here is just started with the bioenergies. So that maybe in the future scale will be increasing. So that I hope cost will be down.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I think once you get up to economies of scale, it will be opportunities. But it's going to be very hard, if we're realistically speaking, to get up to economies of scale in the next 15, 20 years from things like wood chips, from things like tree trunks, things like this. These are they're available, but they're quite niche when you talk about sorry, I speak in gallons, but it's a 10 billion gallon fuel market in Indonesia, gasoline. It's a lot. That's a lot. So if you want to start now or to prime the pump, you will have to be okay with some level of imports to fuel the domestic economy.
Okay. Thank you very much. And okay, I received the one final question from the floor. Joko, please.
Yes, I would like to ask perhaps to. Yes, yeah, to Mr. O. So ASEAN countries normally they don't like to import. And one thing that I learned is that the Philippines started with importing bioethanols from US and as well as from Indonesia back in the 2012-13. Yeah, but how is it possible? I mean, what is the secret that Philippines has? How to allow import and at the time building a domestic industry of producing bioethanol? I think we can learn from Philippines model.
Well, the first objective of the law is really for farmers' income. I informed you about that already. 3 income streams: sugar, bioethanol from molasses, and even with the Renewable Energy Act, 6 pesos and 63 pesos per kilowatt for the biomass energy from the bagas. So having said that, we have drafted, or even during the deliberation on how to protect, we have to protect the farmers group. So we formulated a bio-reference price formula, like 50% molasses price, 50% sugar price, and then we have this production cost. and then we roll it out. So we have fixed production cost of 22.29 pesos. Power, all even the incentives and research fund in that 22.29. And the rest is 50-50 based on, and then we added transport cost for molasses. So now the price is, we know that capitalization is really costly. So what we did, because the government beginning 1990s phased out our oil fund. No oil fund since 1990s. We also do not have subsidies for our electricity. So we are, I think, unique in the region as to we are the only country that does not give subsidy except for the household using 100 kilowatt hour. So we really had that formula. And then because of that, we started with import. The import landed then was only 10, 15 pesos. And our production cost then was 30, 40 pesos. And it started with 80-20. 80% imported, 20 pesos, 15 pesos, mixed with 20%, 40 pesos. So the average, it's so low, only until now, it's 84. We hit the, we need to push it down.
Thank you. And I want to receive the one question from the online participant. Question is third generation bioenergy, such as the cellulose and algae. So that I think somebody is answer to this question. So without it, sustainable bioenergy will not exist.
Well, based on the Brazil operation, the only commercial operation on 2G cellulosic using bagasse, their production cost is $2 per liter of ethanol using cellulosic second generation. It's very expensive for now.
But the question is third generation.
Yeah, no, we actually, we work with a lot, it's counterintuitive, but we work a lot with second gen ethanol production because, yeah, you don't let perfection today get in the way of progress. If you go straight to cellulosic today, 100%, too expensive, and they'll stop using it. And so we have to create an ecosystem to create the demand, and that may require, again, we go back to imports, but trade of ethanol and using first-gen ethanol with second-gen ethanol until second-gen ethanol can keep up with the price.
Okay, thank you very much. And anyways, last week I visited the NEDO laboratories. They are producing the SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuels, using the algae and CO2. So that as algae is there is, and put the CO2, so that change to the, anyway, taking time. But problem is cost is currently very expensive, but I think that, anyway, technology development, so that we can expect the third generation bioenergies. And I think technology is push up us to the step by step, first generation, second generation, and the third generation. I think I very agree with these questions, and maybe I'm not living, but maybe 30 years, I'm sure 20 years, 30 years, the third generation bioenergy will be important. I really trust these questions. So, okay, thank you very much, and I really want to receive more questions, but due to the time, so that I close the this panel session. But before that, I'd like to ask all of you to grab your appreciation to the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimura-sensei and our panelists. May I invite all of you for a photo session? Okay, thank you. Please smile to the camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. Again. 1, 2, 3, smile. Big smile to the camera. 1, 2, 3. Okay, enough? Okay, thank you. Thank you to Mr. Shigeru Kimura, Miss Queenie Roho, Mr. Yoshinobu Kusano, Mr. Dodi Setiawan, Mr. Caleb Worth. I invite you to come back to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the very end of this event today. Again, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the co-hosts of this event, the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, also the Mineral Resources, Ministry of Energy, Mineral Resources of Republic of Indonesia, and the ASEAN Center for Energy. Today has been a very productive day. I would also like to extend a heartfelt gratitude for the panelists, for the speakers, for the presenters today who have flown from all over the region to share your expertise with us. We know that what you have shared with us today is involve years of experience, years of working, years of research. So we are very thankful for all of you for sharing your expertise with us. Also, last but not least, I would like to extend a warm thank you to everyone who has been here from the very morning. We are very grateful for your presence. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your active participation. And also to online participants who are joining online. Thank you for all your questions and participation. We are very sorry that we don't have time to answer all of your questions, but thank you. We appreciate your question and active participation. Okay, last but not least, please, to wrap up today's event, please allow me to call Mr. Trois Dili Susandi, the Coordinator of Investment and Cooperation of Bioenergy, Directorate of Bioenergy from MEMR.
Thank you, MC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, good afternoon. The Honorable Chief Operating Officer, Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area, Executive Director of ASEAN Center for Energy, ACE, representative from ASEAN countries, representative from related ministry, institution, association, researcher, technology developers, private sector, and distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. We are almost at the end of this very meaningful activity. We would like to express our appreciation to the resource person, panelists, participant, and also the team from the Directorate of Bioenergy area and the ASEAN Center for Energy for the successful execution of today's event. I confident that and believe all of our discussion in this workshop, development of bioenergy market potential in ASEAN have opened a new window of cooperation and also collaboration across ASEAN countries to level up bioenergy sector contribution to energy transition. Today, we have seen and heard a lot of information through presentation and discussion from speakers and panelists about the development of bioenergy utilization in several ASEAN countries. In addition, we also obtain view and option for the bioenergy development that are in accordance with the resources in each country. We identify several key developments in the ASEAN bioenergy industry market. One is the development of bioenergy sector in ASEAN will be in line and support the effort to fulfill APEC targets of achieving 23% renewable energy share in ASEAN energy mix, with a 35% renewable energy share in installed power capacity by 2025. Second, Indonesia, along with many other ASEAN countries, have the potential for the bioenergy feedstock that can be collaborated to form an integrated bioenergy market in ASEAN, so as to encourage the creation of market demand in the region. This will certainly help strengthen the contribution of the bioenergy sector in the energy transition effort. The development of bioenergy sector market in ASEAN also take in account sustainability pattern that support environmental sustainability and also the circular economy. Finally, on behalf of the Director of Bioenergy, I would like to thank the speakers, panelists, and all the attenders who have participated in listening and discussing today's events. Hopefully, what we have done today can help improve the development of the bioenergy sector in Indonesia and ASEAN, and we hope as a long-term outcome can support the goal of achieving the target of equitable and sustainable regional energy resilience, where ASEAN is the epicentrum of the growth. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Troyes, for your closing remarks. Now I would like to invite the Director General for Research and Policy Design Administration of IRIA. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Toru Furuichi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Troyes, for your closing our wrap-up. And all distinguished speakers, moderators, panelists, and participants. I'm Toru Furuichi, AREA's Director General for Research and Policy Design Administration. It's a great honor for me to deliver the closing remarks on today's program of the two MEMR Area ACE joint workshops for Indonesia's 2023 ASEAN Chairmanship. Today, we have had the opportunity to listen to very insightful presentations and discussions of two of the world's most burning trending issues in the energy sectors. The first one is the development of electric vehicles and bioenergy, second. However, we also noticed the focal strategies that ASEAN countries would like to emphasize in those two topics: the development of the electric motorcycles through conversion and the trade of bioenergy in the region. Our honorable experts, panelists, and participants in those today's workshop had shared the precious insights and remarks. Please allow me to shortlist some of the key messages. First one, electric vehicles can absolutely be a part of ASEAN countries' measures to reduce their dependence on the conventional transport fuels and to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. However, we need to really take care of how the electricity is generated. Without any big shift towards the use of low carbon energy resources in power generation side, such as renewable energy, then the electrification of mobility of the impact on the reduction of carbon emission will be less significant. The second, electric vehicles ownership rate can be accelerated with many measures. conversion of conventional vehicles is one potential measure. In some ASEAN countries such as Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and other countries where motorcycles are dominant mode of transport. Conversion of the conventional motorcycles into electronic ones might become an effective measure. And however, we need to deeply consider the total cost of ownership of these electronic motorcycles resulting from conversion. Low total cost of ownership shall make the option competitive, and to obtain the necessary competitiveness, we need an adequate business model. Apart from the conversion and operational price that conventional compose the total cost of ownership of the vehicle, we need also to think about the possible externalities. Electronic motorcycle might become the best solution of electronic mobility, but we need to also prepare to cope with possible externalities, especially those related to the urban areas congestion. Third, ASEAN countries have the advantage of a lot of sources of bioenergy and that they can deploy to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels and to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, both in upstream and downstream sectors of our energy system. Sustainability aspect of ASEAN's bioenergy resources is nonetheless a key issue that the member states need to work together to guarantee and improve. Therefore, the development of advanced sustainable biofuel and biomass should be a key priority supported by a regional market. This to be elaborated market is needed not only to guarantee the availability to affordable, sustainable bioenergy in ASEAN, but also to improve the capacity of the countries to build their advanced bioenergy. AREA, together with all ASEAN member states, should advocate the necessity of the stepwise and pragmatic and realistic energy transition and its upspinning finance. Both electrification of mobility through the development of e-motorbikes and the development of the sustainable bioenergy market in ASEAN are key elements particular to the region. Thank you again for your kind participation, valuable inputs, and enlightening thought in this discussion. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Furuichi-san, may I ask you to stay on stage for a little ceremony? Yeah. May I also invite to the stage Dr. Zulfikar Yurnaidi, the manager from ACE. And also, may I invite to the stage Mr. Trois from MEMR for the little token of appreciation. Mr. Trois Dili Susandi will give a token of appreciation to Furuichi-san as AREA. And also to Dr. Zulfikar Yurnaidi representing ACE. Thank you. Yeah, may I invite all of you for a photo session? Thank you. Okay. Ruchisa, Mr. Frois, Dr. Yurnaidi, you may be seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants and speakers, we are at the very end of our event today. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude for all of you for participating and making this event a success. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'm proud to inform you that this event is now end. Thank you.